Hi, this is Luke from Gen Z, and I'm joined today by Jason from Rapid Graphite. And we're here to talk a bit more about the role graphite plays in lithium cells and to learn a bit more about artificial graphite versus the natural kind.
Yeah, so lithium-ion batteries, the namesake of lithium, it really doesn't capture what the actual construction and composition of the battery is. In fact, there's more graphite in these batteries than there is lithium.
A substantial amount more, yeah.
Yeah, 7 to 10 times more graphite in the battery than lithium. And of that graphite that's in there, it's actually typically a blend of both natural and synthetic graphite. Natural graphite being the material that's dug out of the ground, and synthetic graphite being a material that is manufactured through a really high intensity energy process where petrochemical pitches are heated to 3,000 degrees. That's about half the surface temperature of the sun.
Right. And as we know, the composition of this natural graphite and the synthetic graphite does play a role in the actual lithium performance itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, for sure. So when deployed in a battery, natural graphite has about around about 10% better charge capacity. However, synthetic graphite is really important. It allows the battery to charge fast and have long cycle lives, two key components of modern batteries.
Yeah, I mean, as we know from the lithium battery side of things, what people care about most is the cycle life of their batteries. I mean, the longevity, the warranty, those implications, that's really important to a consumer perspective. So from Rapid Graphite, you guys are working on the synthesis of this artificial graphite?
Yeah, so as I said before, to produce synthetic graphite requires an immense amount of energy. Heating material to half the surface temperature of the sun is not easy.
No.
Out of Curtin University, we've done some research since about 2018, and we're currently spinning out of Curtin as Rapid Graphite. We specialise in making synthetic graphite in a far cleaner and more sustainable approach.
Yep. So the energy reductions that you guys are seeing, that's coming from a change in the actual chemical equation that you guys are doing, or are you using other methods to help get that energy down so you don't require, half a building's worth of supply to for months on end to generate the synthetic graphite?
Yeah, so traditional way of manufacturing synthetic graphite is dominated by China, where they simply heat to these astronomically high temperatures for weeks to sort of a month.
Right. Energy efficient. Yeah.
Energy efficient. Yeah. It's wild the way that it's done, but that's the way that it's always been done.
Yep.
In fact, that process hasn't really changed since the early 1900s. What Rapid Graphite's innovation is, we've been developing catalysts that allow us to speed up the process of making graphite and allow us to lower the temperature away from 3,000 degrees, essentially offering us about a 50% energy saving as a starting point.
Yep, I mean, which is a pretty solid starting, because you're talking about heating to 3,000 degrees and holding it there for months, weeks on end, even reducing it by 50%. I mean, you mentioned earlier in a conversation that you guys would be able to produce the synthetic graphite structure, and was it 10 minutes was the...
10 seconds is the fastest we've done it in the lab.
Right,
so it's a massive sort of step change in the rate of being able to produce this graphite. However, as we start to scale up, we expect to still maintain around the minutes sort of scale, which is still, it's a phenomenal breakthrough in terms of you've got this really old approach that's being done industrially in China, and we're bringing a new innovation that allows us to do it just far faster and reduce the energy
energy cost. So you were also mentioning before that the reduction in the energy cost isn't the only reduction that you guys are making. You've also changed the feedstock, was it? So you're now getting rid of some of the greenhouse emissions associated with that pitch that they were using as the original.
That's correct. With making synthetic graphite, you can only really do it out of a select group of materials.
Okay.
Industrially, that's petrochemical pitch, which gets calcinated at around 1,800 degrees as a
That's the pre-step, yeah.
That's the pre-step.
Yeah.
and then you take that out, process it, put it into another furnace, and heat it to 3,000 degrees.
Right. Yeah.
It's a super efficient process.
Yeah, it's great. 800 degrees at the starting point is a really good place to be.
1,800.
Yeah. Sorry, 1,800 degrees.
So Rapid Graphite has our catalysts, which allow us to lower the temperature and speed up the process of making synthetic graphite, but it also allows us to use a new feedstock.
Okay.
That feedstock that we're currently moving forward with is biochar. Essentially, that is biomass, and plant material that's been converted into a char, something similar to what you'd see maybe at the bottom of your fire, the coals that are there. We can take that as a really low cost source of carbon and convert it into graphite. What that allows us to do compared to the petrochemical pitch that's used in conventional manufacturing is eliminate a lot of the sulfur and nitrogen emissions. Now, that's quite important. When the sulfur and nitrogen is released from graphite production, it goes into the atmosphere as SOx and NOx emissions, and essentially fall back to the earth as acid rain.
Which, as we know, is everyone's favourite type of rain. Who doesn't love a good bit of acid rain to start their Sunday? So we're using the biochar, which, I mean, as the analogy that you guys used was that, you know, it's at the bottom of your campfire. If you can see it there, I mean, it's going to be a wide variety of stocks that you can then use to supply your process. Doesn't give you the SOx and NOx emissions. It just seems like a very, very clean alternative to the pitch, which we know is never been once identified as a renewable resource that is good for the environment.
No, certainly moving away from fossil fuel feedstock. It's good. And the important part is that for biochar, you know, it's globally abundant. It's everywhere in the world. We've been successful with testing a variety of different biochars, so it's not just one type of wood that we can process in.
It's not some obscure feedstock that you'd need.
We're not cutting down this obscure tree in the Amazon rainforest or anything like that. It's wood waste that's everywhere. We work with an array of different companies to get wood waste from cutting fire breaks or wood waste from cutting down invasive weed species. We're quite sort of agnostic to what type of feedstock that we're getting, which is great for us as we look to scale globally. There's feedstock everywhere we look.
I was about to say, you're kind of getting close to the point where it's like, yes, I do just need carbon to make my graphite. It is all it's made out of, but we're now moving away from the very obscure, you know, fossil fuel styles of carbon, and we're getting closer to some renewable feeds in there.
Yeah, for sure. That's mostly because we've been able to get hands-on with the carbon.
Yes, of course,
We've identified from our academic background the key things, the key sort of defects within it at an atomic level that prevent graphite from forming. Once we were able to target those and say essentially these pentagonal or heptagonal, so a 5-membered ring or a 7-membered carbon ring instead of what you want in graphite, which is always a 6-membered carbon ring.
So you get those nice flat structures that allow, you know, electrons to do what we want them to do, which is
so we identified that these are the elements that prevent a carbon from forming into graphite. And then we tailored catalysts to be able to seek out and resolve those 5 and 7-membered rings, essentially allowing us to convert our chars into a graphite ready for use in a lithium-ion battery.
Cool. So, I mean, I suppose in comparison to the conventional method then, the conventional method was just heat it to the 3,000 degrees and just wait for it to decompose into those stable 6-ring structures. Meanwhile, or was it just kind of like a random process? You just left it going longer and longer, and eventually it would then provide what you wanted? Or
so early studies looked at an array of different carbon sources, and petrochemical pitch was one source that actually made its way into graphite. Most of the sources, carbon sources, didn't. If you heat our feedstock, biochar, without our catalyst, then it will never make graphite. Just by nature, they picked the feedstock that worked and they ran with it without thinking further.
Gotcha. Cool.